Welcome, everybody, to PinstripeChronicles podcast. I am Tats, and I am here with the co-host of Upper Deck, Lynn Kendrick. Lynn, how are you?
I am good on a Tuesday when I'm not at work.
Hey, any day off of work is a good day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's actually a nice day after a terrible night.
The storm last night was insane. That was not fun at all. But the off day, an off day sometimes does a body good. And let's hope after the Yankees, kind of ruined everybody's weekend against Baltimore, they can kind of right the ship against Detroit. And we have Cole on the mound. And are you still as confident in Cole as when we first brought him in? Or do you feel like this is something that Robin Donald and I have talked about at length in his past couple of starts, and you and I haven't been able to really have a discussion about it. Is Cole worth the money that we spent on him? What's your gut reaction when you think about how he's supposed to be the quote unquote ace, and where you have a pitcher like what we saw the other day with Cortez, he's put up a better outing than Cole has so far this year. Is that concerning, or is it just early season hiccups?
I think it's a concern because it's a pattern now.
Yeah.
I think we have to move past the pandemic excuse. And the truth of the matter is he wasn't an ace last year either. I mean, that was clear, and we were hoping that we had something to blame it on. And although, we've only seen him on the mound twice, right? It's twice, no more than that.
Yeah, 2 outings.
And to be fair, the same is true of Cortez. But, currently he's most definitely not our ace.
No, because in his 2 starts, he has no record. He's 0-0 with a 5.59 ERA. That's not an ace start to a season.
No, and right out of the gate too. Against the Jays, he was owned in the first inning.
Yeah,
so if you had to put him against Sevy or Cortez, he shouldn't be top of the rotation by any stretch. I have. If this was open trading market right now and he was eligible, what kind of a value would we get from him right now?
Well, I don't think there's really much value.
Exactly. So that's not ace stuff. It's not ace stats. It's not interest. Who's really talking about him? And I don't really know what's going on. We can't say it's the sticky stuff really anymore because everyone else seems to have adjusted. And it's an enigma to me. I really, it's very disappointing, but overall the concern is if this is a predictor of what we're going to have this year, and what adjustments would the Yankees make if this is really what we have.
Yeah.
Is it going to become like a Judge situation where nope, he's the face of the pitching, and so he's our ace, and that's where he's staying?
Well, I think it's fair to say when you start out the season going into your 3rd start with almost a 6 ERA, you lost your status as an ace. Can he regain that? Absolutely. He knows how to pitch. He just those first innings have really hurt him, and the shortened spring training combined with the pitch limit set by the Yankees is that hurting him more than helping him at this point? What should we expect to see tonight going into the game against Detroit?
Well, so that leads me into managing our expectations. I kind of hesitate to talk about what we expect when we were just schooled by the last place team in the East in our division. Yeah. And we're heading in, to the same situation, Central. So, we can't I can't say that I want to say I have high expectations and he's gonna, slay and so on, but that's not a safe presumption anymore, pitching or otherwise. I would hope that if he starts off well, even if he gets a man or two on base, if he doesn't have a disaster inning like he had against the Jays, then I think he could settle in. And so the first inning is going to be the test for me. Right now, I don't have high hopes just based on what I'm seeing so far. And the question becomes, how much time do you give them to stretch out because of the shortened spring training?
Yeah.
He should.
Well, this now will be the third time through the rotation. I think this. You know what? They had two starts to get stretched out a little bit. You've given them their pitch counts. Now it's time to just, if they're in the zone, now you'll just let them stay in the game. If they're not, while you still have the advantage of having the expanded bullpen, you have to be able to, Boone has to be confident in the ability of the team to make a quick hook if he doesn't have it. We've seen him have the quick hook with Chapman, and he went back to him the very next day and it cost us a game. Mm-hmm. So not to say that, Boone is in the zone and he's managing well. He's had it's 1 week in the season. He's already had ups and downs. The biggest criticism of Boone has got to be the lineups and the way they're constructed. And the rotating lineup is not going to work. It never will. There's no stat that can convince me that they're doing it the right way. Having, one person sit every day. You need to have a set lineup so these guys can get into a rhythm. You need to have a solid 1 through 9 going into this series and saying, all right, this is the lineup we're going to roll out. If we need to make adjustments late in the innings based on the score and the dynamic of the game, okay, that's fine. You don't want, players like, Glaber or whether it be Gallo that's on the bench, not playing the outfield, and I use those two because they're the ones struggling the most of your everyday players. The catchers, I don't count. Higashioka is just not, there's a reason why he hasn't been a start, same thing with Romine. There's a reason why they took so long for them to get their shot because they're not as good as we want them to be. Our expectations, I think, on Higashioka were very high, but the expectations for Glaber and Gallo were high as well. Maybe, demoting them to bench players and you'll play when we feel like you can contribute. That will be a factor as well, and have more of a solid lineup every day. Because without that solid lineup, you're not going to get any consistency out of any of the players.
Do you think that this is a long-term strategy, though? I wonder if...
No, I think this is the way they're expecting to do it all year.
Oh, really? Because I was thinking, or maybe hoping, that this is still, a testing of what they got before the roster gets, reduced, and it'll settle after that. What do you think?
I even think with the reduced lineup, when the rosters go back, I think it's the pitching that's going to get cut, not the offense. I think these are the players that we're going to be working with, as far as position players go. We've all been shown the last few years that you may think you have an idea of what the Yankees are going to do. They have no clue. They're going to do, they're going to think they're going to outsmart the room, and they're going to, I don't know. I thought for a second the mentality was going to be, well, if they don't know what our lineup is going to be day in, day out, they can't prep for us. The pitchers can't scout us properly. They can't, they can't properly navigate our lineup, and scout us. But we're out scouting ourselves.
Right.
You can't have, late in games moving Glaber to the shortstop. we've seen that too, for the past few years. It hasn't worked. Why they keep putting him there? It's almost like the opposing lineup gets to lick their chops and just hit it to shortstop because they know that 8 out of 10 times they're going to reach base.
Right. And so it's still sort of like this patchwork, okay, not change the tire, put a patch on it approach when it comes to that. But so, going with what you said about the lineup being what it is and really just expecting, a pitching staff change of, some sort. What do you think the taxi squad's going to be doing really soon, and how soon into the season, given that, everything you just said about the performance? Are we going to be seeing, Volpe up sooner than later? And, if they were to bench some guys until they could work things out, what are the options there? Because we don't have all that much depth. I mean, we have depth in the infield because we always have to figure out, and we're always shifting, and someone always has to sit. But, so in addition to the lineup, I'm very concerned about the consistency around the horn because, we have to get that settled, and there's problems already spotted in my view, on some of the acquisitions.
No, it's. I think the two players in AAA that are still in that prospect class, that will be in that taxi squad, as far as the offense is concerned, because the pitching is very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna, I think we're gonna see it's gonna be Florial and Oswald Cabrera as far as the infield.
Right.
LaCastro, I don't see him being a long-term solution. I think he was just a quick fix. Because they didn't want to call up Florial for some unknown reason. They just keep holding this guy back.
The other day.
Like, I mean, if I was to put the lineup out right now off the top of my head, in no particular order of the lineup, you got, I would definitely, the one that I'm really certain of is Hicks is the leadoff hitter right now. He's healthy. He's getting on base. He is one of the better hitters in the lineup right now. Let him get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Number two, the set, I would go, Judge and Wright. Number three, I would have Donaldson. I think in the 3-hole, I think you're going to see a lot of good production out of him at third base. Cleanup would be Stanton, and I would put him in right. I would put him in left field rather.
Okay.
So your outfield's already covered.
Where does that put
actually, you know what? I'll actually make Stanton the DH and Gallo in left field, just with defensive reasons. Not that Stanton can't. I still believe, and I've always said that Stanton is much better when he's in the outfield. He has much better at bats when he's in the game all game. That's why I always jump to put him in an outfield position in some capacity.
I get it. Yeah.
But Gallo, you still want to use his defense, even though his offense has been very upsetting and underperforming. You would have LeMahieu at second base. You got Rizzo at first. You have Falefa. I would still, I'm going to try him out at shortstop until, you just really, I want him to get his feet wet. Same thing with Didi. I think it's just going to take a little while for him to acclimate to the New York atmosphere and the pressure of New York. I think once he gets that confidence and he's like, all right, I did it over there, I could do it over here, we're going to see him take off and just really be a contributor to the team. So I don't want to keep him on the bench for, that much.
No,
because and Trevino would be your catcher, not Higgy.
But we've only seen Trevino twice.
And both games, he was a contributing, he contributed very well behind the plate and at the plate. And those were the two games that we saw the best out of Falefa. The two of them seem to do very well feeding off each other in the 8-9 spot. And I think that's a chemistry you need to maintain, until it shows that, all right, it was a fluke. Then you make a change.
Right.
But you have to make a quick change. And that's something the Yankees are very reluctant to do, is make that quick change, because they feel like, well, we could handle this for a week in the beginning of the season. We could take the losses because it's such a, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I'm sorry. With the strength of the AL East, when you're playing your division, it's a sprint. It's not a marathon.
It is all the way through. And to the point, going back to present, then we have to win the games that we're supposed to win all of them. But if we're not going to win the gimmies, then we're screwed. There is absolutely no excuse for what happened in Baltimore. There's none. We know it's because it's not the pitching. We know that the offense is freezing. It's not even cold. And the base running has been subpar. So what you said about Hicks, while true, he made two horrible base running decisions on Sunday.
Yeah.
One he lucked out on because Judge ended up getting the walk. But that first one, was an absolute horrible take on his part. And you know how I knew how horrible it was besides me just knowing it was? that Boone, when going to commercials, was talking to him in the dugout, and you only saw the back of Boone's head and a lot of this. And Hicks wasn't even making eye contact with him. He was just looking down and nodding. So, if Boone's actually going to manage somebody and chew them out for something bad, then it was bad.
That you point that out. What does that say for Boone, that the players aren't even engaged to his criticism? Has Boone completely lost the dugout in the locker room?
Well, I took it the opposite way. I took it as Hicks, couldn't meet him in the eye because he knew what he was saying was right. His face was very serious. I didn't get like a dismissive look off of him. Okay. But Hicks came out strong, saying he's going to be the 30-30 guy this year. And you're not going to get 30-30 if you don't know how to manage the bases once you're on them. When this team is like RISP champions of the universe, mm-hmm. as it was last year, and as it's already looking to be this year. So,
well, Hicks, before the season started in spring training, Hicks was on the R2C2 podcast with Ryan Rucco and CC Sabathia, yeah. And he made the statement himself. We want to get back to that team that everybody fears in the AL East. We don't want to just beat our opponents. We want to beat our opponents.
Right.
We don't want them to. We want them to not want us in their ballpark. We don't want them to want to come to New York. And it seems like in the start of the year, he's kind of. Because he is producing in some aspect. I don't want to say he's not. Walking the walk.
No.
But the rest of the team needs to start walking that walk.
Right. A little bit of that, hubris, that, breastfeeding that we don't do anymore, I think. And I listened to that pod too. And I actually think it was on that pod where he said, he's going to break out and his goal is 30-30.
Yeah.
And I think, good on him. But, and I think it was also his way of saying, of like reestablishing himself again, so that we forget the woes of the past. And and I have no problem with him defensively. So I have no problem with him sticking in the in center. But Judge also does great in center. If we wanted to keep Stanton more, but then that puts Gallo on the field, and Gallo is really sticking out like a sore thumb. Great guy, great for the club. a good outfielder. I don't even, think I'll say great at this point. In terms of IKF, I think he's the full package. I think you're dead on. I think he needs to settle. I think also just from an emotional place, he's a lifelong Yankee fan. And so, it has to be intimidating enough to join the Yankees, even if, you were a rock star where you came from. But, if you're like all of a sudden in the surreal experience of in pinstripes, and, I think that the psyche plays into this a little bit too. But he has the athleticism, he has the instinct, he connects with the bat, we've seen it. We just need it all to gel together. And I think you're right. We can't give him too much more time, but I think I'm confident about him.
Yeah. Another player that I really want to highlight, before the first game of the series is not even a Yankee, but I want to highlight Miguel Cabrera. And he's a player, he's 5 hits away from his 3,000th hit. And, looking real quick on baseballreference.com, he's got, he's a 2-time MVP, Triple Crown, which we never thought we'd see another one of those. 7-time Silver Slugger, 2 times, 2-time ML Player of the Year, 4-time batting title, 11-time All-Star, and a 2003 World Series. Okay, so his rookie year, he wins the World Series, and that was against the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
When he was with the Marlins.
Right.
I think this weekend it would be very fitting for him. He's 5 hits away from 3,000 to just put that last little cherry on top for his career to have his 3,000th hit against this club is something that I'm actually going to be rooting for.
Yeah. Not for the next 3 games, but I get it. Don't root for him the next 3 games. And so the trade-off there is we're a little bit lucky, and I don't use that word because you don't want anyone on the IL, but they're missing Javi Baez. He's out on the 10-day. And so, that could be to our advantage a little bit. But again, and when I was looking at Baseball Reference, I mean, granted, I had one eye open. It seemed to me that, this team is a bit lefty loaded. And so the matchup is going to matter. And I think we discussed that it's going to be Anderson probably on the mound today.
Yeah, that's who they have listed. Yeah.
Yeah. So and his numbers, look really, really good. So, pitching's half the battle. And so they have that on the mound against Cole. But statistically, Detroit is almost identical to Baltimore. They're really at the basement. They've scored 28 runs so far this season. Their team batting average is 201. Their slugging percentage is 318. And they've hit, as a team, 6 home runs. And I know it's only 10 games, but...
Yeah, but they haven't played the Yankees yet either.
Right.
So those numbers could improve this,
Yeah. The opposite of what we'd expect you to be saying.
Yeah, but no, Anderson also, he doesn't have he has no wins or losses and a 5.06 ERA. So he's almost matched Cole, who's supposed to be an ace. So they both could pitch like an ace tonight.
Yeah,
we don't know. And we can't say that their pitches 5+ ERA is a joke, but we dismiss our ace having a almost 6 ERA.
Right.
And so we need to be careful beating our chest that is the Tigers this week.
That's right.
Right now. We saw last year, Boone has a habit of taking these series off. He doesn't manage the lower end teams. He doesn't manage them to win. You manage them to, this is where you'll get your B squad because these are the games he wants to rest. Meanwhile, everybody's already had too much rest.
Yeah, and they're coming off a rest day. after a day game on Sunday. So, I'm really not for that. And, again, I'm going to keep saying, we can't be lackadaisical um, about these bottom of the standings teams. We need those in our bank.
Yeah.
And if we don't have them in the bank, and we're going to be facing, more nemesis, soon, even though the Rays are beneath us, and I want to take a picture of the standings right now. But, that's going to change in a hot second.
Yep.
Probably when we face them. But statistically, by the way, the Yankees aren't so far off from the Tigers in terms of their offense.
No.
And
no, we brought up yesterday. I think that their batting average right now is 161. They have a 190 batting average with runners in scoring position. That's embarrassing.
And
for a team that's expected to go to the World Series or make the or fans that think there's fans that want them to make that think they can go to the World Series, and baseball thinking they're a legitimate playoff team. A 190 batting average with runners in scoring position is not a playoff team.
They're also leading the American League with hitting into the most double plays.
Well, we saw that. We brought that up also yesterday. They were already in double digits.
And their slugging percentage is .366.
Yep.
So, and Cole with the 5.56 ERA.
Yep. The other stat is they scored 30 runs in 10 games. Okay, which is the second fewest the Yankees have scored since 1973. But we're going to be we really beat our chest like a playoff team. I mean, right. Who are they kidding? And this is the team that Cashman wanted to put together, and wanted. These are the adjustments that he makes. Where you look at the you always hear the argument. Look at the back of their baseball card. Well, if you look at the team that they've had over the last few years, you look at the back of their baseball card, they're actually exceeding expectations.
Well, that's because the expectations are so low, right?
Yeah, for us it was.
Yeah.
Our shows have pointed out where we've been very supportive. We've also been able to be equally critical, and not, be blinded by fandom and point out their discrepancies and where they need to improve. And every offseason screams that, the pitching, it's all about pitching. The pitching is not the problem. It's the lineups. It's the players in the lineup. You wasted a whole year of shortstop for Glaber, and you didn't make an improvement. You made a lateral move with IKF, because you're getting less of an at bat at this point. You're getting less of an at bat and a little better in defense. That was that big change. That doesn't scream championship to me. That doesn't even scream playoffs to me right now.
But the thing is, when the organization is not screaming for playoffs, when the organization just cares about if we get the toe into the wild card, and they consider that a successful season, that's also what's hurting us, and that's what shows through the acquisitions. And why we didn't get the top picks, the big money guys. We're fortunate that we got who we got for the money they were willing to spend. But and we're also it's great that Rizzo is breaking out hot at the start of the season offensively, which has been great to see. But will that sustain? It's great to see a healthy DJ. Long may he wave. But Donaldson has pretty much sucked the past week or so.
And I'm contributing. I attribute that to being put, leading off the games. He wasn't comfortable. I think if you move him either in the 3 spot or the 5 spot, I think you're going to start seeing a lot better production out of him. He's
Right.
not a leadoff hitter. I don't know why they keep trying to put out these players that are not leadoff hitters. You need that, you don't need the power guy. You don't need the first inning home run with nobody on base. That doesn't serve you anything.
That's right.
If you're able to get, a Hicks or a LeMahieu, or what we hope Torres could be, those would be your three leadoff guys.
100%.
That could, the line drive gap hitters, with the occasional pop. That's what you need in your leadoff spot, and then your power guys behind them to move them around.
Right.
And they haven't shown the ability to do that, or they haven't shown the mentality of how, when baseball works, and that is properly constructing a lineup to the strengths.
Right.
Having all your power hitters in the top of the lineup and your subpart hitters and, gap hitters in the bottom is not what, that's not a winning formula.
No, it's that you actually need some performance from the bottom of your lineup if you're going to set a table for the big boys at the top of the lineup. Yeah. Too. Can I just switch for a second to the bullpen?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what happened on Sunday with the bullpen? The bullpen has been so exciting and will continue to be exciting. And I really like that I saw Chapman not close, when Boone made that decision. And I think that that's going to be a long-term decision that will probably have to be made sooner than later. And luckily we have more than one possibility for that. I don't want to see another science experiment like, Green, Loizaga, King. I don't want that, but there's options there.
Well, I'd rather them experiment with those three players than force Chapman out there every night, ninth inning.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, the comparison with the lineup experiment. I think it would be important that if they do make that move, that they decide fast. But
But to answer your question, my opinion with the bullpen and what went wrong, is the fact that you have an offense that's not scoring runs. Yes. Now you're bringing in a bullpen in high pressure situations where they have to be absolutely perfect. And even though it's early in the season, I think that they were, the pressure was on them. And we want to be able to say that, well, this is their job, they need to perform.
Right.
Well, the bullpen always can throw the same argument back to the offense. Going, well, if they did their jobs, we would be more relaxed on the mound. So I think that's just what happened. It was just a little hiccup.
Yeah.
We've seen this bullpen. We know this bullpen.
Right.
What we saw, the struggles that they had, even though, they weren't really getting lit up. Baltimore put up a 5 spot, in that game. The worst teams can have a good inning. The best teams are going to have bad innings. That's just how baseball is.
Or series.
So I'm not really getting too overworked about this, the struggle with the bullpen. They're going to be fine.
I wasn't flagging it as an issue. You're right. It's one game, and but I just flagging kind of what you just said, that it's supposed to be 27 outs, right? And I understand the deflation. I just expected a little bit more of the prowess there. And the other question, and I know the answer to it, is, they pulled Nestor because he was at 81 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that from on the level, but he had more in him. And
did he though? Because this is usually what we get out of Cortez. He's not a length guy.
No, but this
was. So if they would have put him out in the 6th inning, right?
Yeah.
And he would have given up 2 runs, and that was pitch counts in the 90s. Wouldn't Boone be, open to the same criticism where you have an extended bullpen while you're forcing Cortez out there?
So that's why I said I know the answer to my own question. And yet, knowing, how on fire he was at the bottom of the fifth, even if he went 6 1/3 or 6 2/3 to have that transition into the sixth,
No, I still think it should have been batter to batter at that point. We talked about it a little bit on yesterday's show.
Yeah.
Where he was kind of like the highlights of the discussion. And, I was kind of playing devil's advocate, because, Robin Donald was saying that, when you're dealing like that in a game in a rubber match where you want to at least win the series, they couldn't touch him at all. He has a very quick delivery, keeps them all off balance. They weren't able to really get their feet set, and when they brought in Green, and Green was able to, Green works a little slower, they were a little more comfortable at the plate. And that's when we got kind of hit around a little bit. And I think if the next time through the lineup, because I had said in opening day when we did our show that because of the shortened spring training, and I'm sorry for anybody that's listening that's heard me say this a few times, but I think it bears repeating once more. When you have a short spring training and you're going through your rotation the first two times, that third time through the rotation, now they're stretched out. Now you don't worry about pitch count. If they're in a zone, let them keep going. And that goes the same for Cortez. I think if you let him just, because I used the argument against myself with Rob yesterday that it's not like he's throwing 100 miles an hour every pitch.
That's right.
He's not a high velocity guy. He's a movement guy. You can get into the mid 90s with him without really putting a strain on his shoulder and risking an injury. So, they have to, Boone has not been able to manage well of when to just trust that his starters are feeling it.
Right.
And that's something that they really, if Boone could work on that with Matt Blake, then the rotation and the bullpen will be just fine to get us deep into a season.
Yeah. And to me, Blake should be able to know the soft tells on when the tank's running low. And Boone should be relying on him for that. But yeah, so I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's really where my mind was at. Because I do think he had a little bit left in the tank. I wouldn't have expected 6 complete, but I'll just leave with this. The 2 words most annoying me so far this season put together is pitching budget. What the hell is pitching budget? Like, he's looking at a chart, like, oh, do I call the bullpen? Let me look here. Oh, you're not balancing a checkbook, but you are. I don't get this new statistical thing here.
No, the statistical lingo, I'll never figure it out. It's to me that is a puzzle. And I don't like doing puzzles. I just want to see everything just clearly in front of me and just be able to analyze and evaluate from what I'm looking at. I don't want to have to play, I don't want to play a game while watching a game. Just give me my game.
That's right. And what you're seeing moment by moment from your player on the field, I'm sorry that I'm doing the teacher.
That's all right. You can point at me. That's okay.
Attention, young man. That's data too. You could give me all the OPS, OBP, WAR, blah, blah, blah. But the just as valuable data is in real time on the field when the managers and the coaches have the right kind of lens. That's data as well. And that's data that could have been applied in the, top of the 6th with Nestor. Instead of going to your spreadsheet and looking at your budget and, I'm going to have to spend this much because my Con Ed bill is due in the 9th inning crap, then, so.
It's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be a fun series because the Yankees haven't really shown us that they can give us a fun series yet. even the games we won against, Boston and Toronto were kind of nail biters. It wasn't that, all right, you get into the sixth, seventh inning, you can relax and enjoy the game because we got this.
Right.
We're still waiting for that version of the Yankees. And let's just cross our fingers that this is the series that begins. Because I think, we already got embarrassed by Baltimore. Bourne has to do everything, and the players themselves need to just say, you know what, we tripped, we messed up, we blew it. Let's get back to baseball and just really put a show on for everybody. I think maybe they need to replay that interview from Hicks in the locker room where he talks about wanting to be dominant. And he doesn't want to just beat them. He wants to beat them. And that's really what they need to do. So,
Right.
and that will make us all feel a lot better, going as the season progresses.
That's right. And it's really important on the road to show
Yeah.
everyone who they are.
Well, they're going to be a road team in the playoffs anyway, if they get that far, because they're not winning the division at this,
Right.
From what we've seen so far, anything can happen.
Right. But it's important when they're facing a team on, on their own turf and schooling them, that's really important to show, okay, we owned you in that series, so that further down the line, we're reestablishing ourselves beyond our own stadium.
Yep. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Let's see what Cole can give us tonight. Hopefully he starts to reestablish himself as a force to be reckoned with. And it's all up to him. There's nobody else that can help him on the mound but himself.
That's right.
So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap things up for us today. Just remember, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on sportname.com/player. Also, check out any episode if you haven't seen it by The Upper Deck. Lynn and Chris do a phenomenal show every Sunday. So really make sure you check them out. Very entertaining. I love listening to them when I'm editing and producing the shows.
Thank you.
And also check us out on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku. So wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.
Go Yankees!